Today we're going to learn Shabbat Daf Kuf Chavtet. We ended with things that one can do in child while one is giving birth. It's a very interesting, relevant issue about how one can be Mechalel Shabbat. One can desecrate Shabbat in order to give birth, okay? And at what stage we're going to talk about, what are the different stages of birth and what is allowed. And it's very relevant in Daf Michelle Farber. That was clearly the topic they chose to discuss this week. So if you want to listen to that, you can hear about all the different things about whether one can, if we're going to allow, if you remember, we saw yesterday that you can have a chachama, miyaledet, midwife, come from far away. So they mentioned, it was a good question they raised, which is, let's say, and then we ended, or actually we're going to see this now, about anything a woman needs, we're allowed to do for her. If she says, I need this, then we can desecrate Shabbat for it. So they raised the question, what if a woman says they want their husband in the room, they want a doula in the room, right? They want their mother in the room. How many people do we allow to desecrate Shabbat just because the woman says, I need this, right? So there's two approaches to go. Well, anything she says she wants, we're going to see now, maybe we allow. On the other hand, there has to be a limit on this. We can't just allow, they said in a funny way, we can't just allow a busload of people to start coming on Shabbat in order because this woman needs it. So it's a good question how we define all these things. And obviously that's what, the Poskei Halacha have to deal with once we see the Gemara and the concepts. Anyway, it's a good, very relevant topic. But from here, we're going to get on to a somewhat very irrelevant topic, which is bloodletting. Okay, and the whole issue of bloodletting, which was very common in those days, they would do it for either medicinal purposes or sometimes just for health reasons as a healthy, obviously it's for medicinal reasons, but for healthy people would also bloodlet, where they would take a lot of blood out of their body. And there's all sorts of dangers related to it, associated with it. So since we're going to first talk about a woman giving birth and the dangers associated with her situation, and then we're going to see also how long is she considered a woman who's given birth and if she's in a more precarious position. And then we're going to talk about the bloodletting and how one should be careful after one bloodlets because you're putting yourself in a potentially dangerous situation. On one hand, it's for medicinal purposes. On the other hand, there's certain things you need to do. So we'll get back to that after. So first, let's start with the woman who gives birth. So we saw yesterday about the oil, that the friend could bring oil to her in a kind of strange way through her hair, and all sorts of interesting things there. Now we're going to say, and then they said, and this was something also that Shiur and Chamutal pointed out in their vlog this week, which is this last line that we ended with. You try to do things with the shinui. So on the one hand, we allow you to desecrate Shabbat. On the other hand, you have to remember that it's still Shabbat. You can't just say, oh, well, right. So if you can do things with some sort of difference, then you'll remember that it's Shabbat. So that's important also. Starting 3 lines from the bottom of Kuf Chav Chet Amud Bet. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. So Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, and we're now going to have 2 different versions of what Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. Chaya is the name for a woman who gives birth. Kol zman she'hakever patuach, while her womb is still open, bein amrat tzrichani, bein lo amrat tzrichani, mechalelin aleh Shabbat. I think there's an assumption here that a woman, while she's giving birth, isn't really conscious of what her needs are. She's not really aware. So whether she says, I need something, or even if she doesn't say she needs something, but we think she needs it, we give it to her. And we can desecrate Shabbat for it. But nistama kever, once her womb closes, then, and we're going to have to establish, obviously, classic Gemara, what does it mean when she's in childbirth? When does that start? And what does it mean, nistama kever, meaning when is it considered that she's already closed up? We know that the contractions happen for a while after closing the womb, so when exactly is that moment? So the Gemara, Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, nistama kever, according to the first version, okay, there's going to be a difference of opinion about this, bein amrat tzrichani, bein lo amrat tzrichani, ein mechalelin aleh et Shabbat. Once her womb closes up, we no longer allow her to say, I need this, and we can desecrate Shabbat for it. Amrat tzricha, Rav Ashi matnehacha. So that was Rav Ashi's version of what Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. Marzutra matnehachi, but he had a different version, Marzutra. He said, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, that it was the same person, right? Just said something different. Chaya, according to Marzutra, Chaya kozman she'hakever patuach. This is going to be the same. Bein amrat tzrichani, bein amrat ein tzrichani, mechalelin aleh et Shabbat. Okay, no matter what, we desecrate Shabbat for her. But nistama kever, once it closes up, amrat tzrichani, if she says I need it, michalelin alea et Shabbat. We still allow her. Now, obviously, there has to be an end game to this, but he basically says we still allow it. She's still considered in somewhat of a dangerous position. Lo amrat tzrichani, but if she doesn't say I need something and we think maybe she needs it, but if she says no, then ein mechalelin alea et Shabbat. We all know people who say, oh, it's okay, I don't really need this, I don't really need this. So if she says that while she's in childbirth, we don't agree, we don't believe her. But once she's already done, and again, the questions we'll get to in a minute, when is it considered she's done? Then if she says, I don't need it, even if we think she needs it, we trust her instincts to say, I don't really need this, and we don't desecrate Shabbat for it. Amale Ravina leMereimar. So Ravina says to Mereimar, okay, let's look at the two opinions you just quoted. Marzutra matne lekula. He's got the more lenient position. Rav Ashi matne lechumra. He's got the more strict opinion. Hilchet hakeman. So who do we hold like? So here comes a big line, and there's all these nuggets in today's daf. Amar le halacha kemarzutla safek nefashot lahakel. Right? You're dealing with life and death here. We're obviously going to go more leniently, and we're obviously going to allow anything that she says. If she says, I need it, even though it's after birth, we're still going to allow it because you're still dealing with life and death situations here. And if you remember, right, all the more so in their day, but in general, you're going to see here today, and I think we can all relate to this, that when you get to a moment of childbirth, you're at a very vulnerable position. And even nowadays, where it's much safer than it was then, there's a lot of vulnerability and fear and concern, and even afterwards of complications that can happen. And because of that, we allow all sorts of things. So now we say, okay, well, when does childbirth start? This is also something they discuss in the vlog, which is, how do you know you can go to the hospital on Shabbat? Often we don't even know what stage of labor we're in or not, right? And I remember I got to my first time I was having back labor. No one had described to me what back labor felt like. So I didn't even think I was in labor, but I was almost 2 weeks overdue. And I get to the hospital and I said, maybe it's time to induce labor. And then they put me on the monitor. They said, what are you talking about? You're in labor. You have no idea. So sometimes it's the reverse. We think we're in labor and we're not really in labor. So at what stage can you, now it's a little tricky because if I say, at what stage can you drive to the hospital? The first answer is not going to really help you with that, because the first answer says, Amar Abaye. Now, first of all, it's very interesting that there's different opinions here, which makes a lot of sense because we all know that going into labor could be your water breaks, it could be you're bleeding, it could be you have contractions, right? There's all different signs. And the rabbis are all dealing with, okay, so what's the sign that's important? And each one has a different opinion, but we all know that it sort of depends on each birth, it depends on each person, and it's all different. So it makes sense then that la halacha, they're going to paskin like all these opinions, either this or that, which is going to make sense. So the first opinion, Amar Abaye, this wouldn't help us with getting to the hospital. It says, Misha'asha tesheva la mashber. The mashber was the chair a birthing chair. Once she's sitting on the birthing chair, then we say, now we can desecrate Shabbat for you. Well, that really wouldn't help us with getting to the hospital because that would mean we're already on the birthing chair. You obviously don't need to get to the hospital. Obviously, in their day, they probably gave birth in their houses, and they certainly didn't have to take a car to get to the hospital, so it wasn't an issue for them. So that answer won't really help us get to the hospital. Rav Huna Bered Rav Yoshua Amar, Misha'asha Hadam Shotet V'Yored. Once you start bleeding, that's considered the beginning of labor, or at least Ptichat HaKever. Again, that we're now going to allow you to do anything you want on Shabbat in order to give birth. The next is Va'amrela Misha'asha Chavroteha Nosot Ota Ba'agafeha. She can no longer walk, and her friends have to carry her to get where she needs to get to, right? So she can't even walk. That's a sign of how bad the contractions are. So again, you have different signs that all show, right? They don't have your water breaking here, but all different signs that would show what's considered Ptichat HaKever. Ad Matai Ptichat HaKever. Now, what's the end time? Amar Abaye Shlosha Yamim. The first 3 days after labor, then you're still considered a choleh sheyesh ba sakana. This, by the way, is relevant for fasting. Okay, right? There's different laws about when you have to fast, right? We're not talking about the small fast, which obviously you don't need to, but on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, right? So there's a difference between the first 3 days, if you're within the first 3 days of labor, versus if you're, right? And then there's an issue of the 7 days. I believe, I can't remember now off the top of my head, although I think I do. I just don't want to say something wrong, but I'll kind of put it out there. You can check. But I think with Yom Kippur, and this is very relevant for coming up very soon, but Yom Kippur, it's 3 days, and Tisha B'Av, it's 7 days. If you're within 7 days, you don't have to fast on Tisha B'Av, I believe, but don't count on my what I'm saying. Okay. Amar Abai. So he says Shlosha Yamim. Rav Amar Mishmei Rav Yehuda Shiv'ah. Va'amar La Shloshim. So you have these three options: 3, 7, or 30. Okay, I'm not sure if in Tisha B'Av we say about the 30 or not. Anyway, it's worth looking up, especially if you're coming up on Tisha B'Av and you're right after birth. So there's 3 days, 7 days, and 30 days. Now, Amrei Nahar Dea, by the way, what's interesting about this, if you think about the 3, the 7, and the 30, these also appear in what other topic? In Avelut, okay? The 3 is a little less, although there are certain things at the first 3 days of Avelut. And the 7 and the 30, it's also like the cycle of Nida. There's the first 3 days also, until you establish that you have 7 clean days. The first 3 days were more strict a little bit. There's a little bit of issue of the first 3, then the 7 clean days, and then you're in a monthly cycle. The 7 and the 30 come up also by getting married, the Sheva Brachot, and then there's certain things for 30 days after getting married. These are concepts that repeat, these numbers repeat themselves in cycle of life things, whether it be giving birth, Avelut, and also weddings. Okay, so 3, 7, or 30. Amrei Nahar Dea. Now in Nahar Dea they say Chaya Shlosha Shiv'a V'Shloshim. We split up a woman who gives birth into these 3 categories. We judge them differently in the first 3 days, the first 7 days, and the first month. So how so? Shlosha, within the first 3 days, Bein Amra Tzrichani, or Bein Amra Lo Tzrichani, whether she says I need or whether she doesn't, Mechalelin Aleh Et Shabbat. Okay, there for sure we allow any Chilul Shabbat. Shiv'a, but 7 already, Amra Tzrichani, Mechalelin Aleh Et Shabbat. Amra Lo Tzrichani, Ein Mechalelin Aleh Et Shabbat. Then she jumps into the next category. From 3 to 7, we only allow Chilul Shabbat if she says, I need it. Shloshim, afilu amrat tzrichani, ein mechalelin aleh et Shabbat. But from 7 to 30, we don't allow Shabbat to be desecrated. Well, then you might say, well, then it's forever. Why specifically say till 30? What do you do within 30 days? She's still considered a cholah, but a cholah she'ein ba sakana. Okay, that's a classic case of someone who's sick, you have a headache, or you're a little bit sick, but you're not in any dangerous, your life isn't endangered in any way. So in that case, avalosim al yedei ramai, we allow a non-Jew to do malacha for her on Shabbat. So if she needs a candle, we allow a non-Jew to light a candle for her. Kidur Rav Ula bered Rav Ilai Amar kol tzorchei chole nasim al yedei ramai b'Shabbat. Okay, just as Rav Ula said that anything a chole needs can be done by a non-Jew, even if it's not a chole sheish bo sakana. If it's chole with sakana, then even a Jew could do it. Uchidu Rav Hamnuna da'amar Rav Hamnuna, and this also matches what Rav Hamnuna said. Davar she'en bo sakana omer lenochri va'oseh. Maybe they wanted to repeat that a bunch of people say you can do this to make sure that people understand. Okay, again, this whole daf, I would say, is the rabbis being concerned about people taking care of themselves and not trying to say, oh, it's Shabbat, I can't do this, and I'll just suffer through it. When really there's room, and they want to tell you that. And also just feeling like they're responsible for the health of people, okay? It's not just that we're rabbis and we tell you what to do halachically, but we're going to see all sorts of things that aren't halachic, like when we get to the bloodletting, about things that one should do after bloodletting for health reasons. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, L'chaya shloshim yom. So now Rav Yehuda says the name of Shmuel, who, by the way, was from Nahar Dea, and Nahar Dea just made the statement, he was the Rosh Yeshiva there, of 3, 7, and 30, right? And now he says, for a woman who gives birth, 30 days. Now, if he meant what we just said previously, then he would have said 3, 7, and 30. So why does he say for a woman who gives birth 30? What's he referring to? So they say this is a different halacha. Amrei Nahar Dea litfilah. She shouldn't go to the mikveh within the first 30 days. Even if technically speaking, a woman can get to the mikveh within 30 days, he claims she should not go to the mikveh within 30 days. If you remember, Shmuel was a doctor and he had a lot to say about medicine and science in general. So he says she shouldn't go to the mikveh. And we're going to see why, because they were concerned. Okay, one reason could be because of infection, right? If the area is the wound is open, then there's possibility for infection. But it seems to be that we're worried about her getting cold. And if she gets cold, she could get sick, and that would be dangerous. And here we're going to have a story. So first, Amarava, Lo Maran Ela She'ein Ba'ala Ima. It's only, by the way, if her husband's not there. Aval Ba'ala Ima, if her husband's in the city and living in the house with her, Ba'ala Mechamema, he can warm her up. Okay, so here we see, has to do with getting cold. And we're not worried that the minute she walks out, she'll be cold, but we're worried that she won't be able to warm herself up. This is obviously without good heating systems in their house. So if her husband can warm her body, then she can go to the mikvah. Now, remember this was Rava. He was married to Rav Chisda's daughter. We're now going to hear a story. And what's interesting, as usual, I find these things interesting, is that the end of this story has two opposite, the Mefarshim explain it, the commentaries explain the conclusion of the story in two different opposite ways. Okay, it's not clear how the story ends from the Pshat reading of the Gemara. So we'll get to that soon. So what happened? Kiha debarte to Rav Chisda, the daughter of Rav Chisda, Tavla bego taltin yomin. She went to the mikveh within 30 days, okay, which is, she was married to Rava, and you can see this is why Rava said it. Shelo bifnei ba'ala, he wasn't at home. V'itztanit, she got sick. V'amtuye la'arsa, now arsa means her bed. They brought her bed, batre de Rava lepupadita. They brought her bed to Rav Papa, who was in Pupadita. Now, what does it mean they brought her bed? So some people say they brought her bed for him to warm her up. So because she went to the mikveh, which she probably shouldn't have done, but she did anyway, and then she got sick. So they brought her bed to Rava in Pupadita. Now, it's a little bit strange to explain that. You would have thought they would have called Rava to come back from Pupadita to be with his wife, to warm her up, and not, if she was sick, start carrying her bed to Pupadita. So other people say, Arsa, Eres Devai, right? It's about a deathbed, and that they brought her deathbed to him. She had died, and they brought her dead body to him to bury in Pupadita, and that's what they mean. Okay, so basically, maybe she died, maybe she didn't, we don't know. If she died, then we very much understand why Rava made this a big issue of his and said, please don't go to the mikveh if your husband's not in town, because look what happened to me. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Osim medura l'chaya b'Shabbat. Okay, now it says in parentheses, Bimod Agshamim. So it seems, let's read it like this. It's unclear whether we read it with or without, but one can make a bonfire for, you can make a big fire to warm up. Okay, here we get to if your husband's not around. So, in this case, it wasn't necessarily that she went to the mikveh, but there's this concept that we need to warm them up, and in the winter months when it's cold. So, Savar Mine, whether we say it or not, they thought, L'chaya in l'cholelo. It sounds like you can only do this for someone giving birth, because they specifically said about someone giving birth, and they didn't say it about a general sick person. And lo b'yamod hagshamim im, b'yamod hachama lo. But it sounds like also only in the winter, not in the summer. Now we all know that sometimes people who are sick in the summer also get chills and are cold, but it sounds like only in the summer. Only in the winter, not in the summer. Belohi. But now again, whether you read this or not, it's a good question, but let's read it. And this is not the case. Loshna chayav, loshna choleh, loshna b'yamod hagshamim, loshna b'yamod hachama. Seems like whether we read these words or we don't read these words seem to be true, that it doesn't matter. It's true both for a woman who gave birth, also for a regular sick person, also in the summer, and even in the summer. And we know this, Itmar, it was said, Amar Rav Chia bar Avin, Amar Shmuel, he keys dam v'nitztanein, and this is how we get into bloodletting. If you bloodlet and you're cold, you have a chill in your body because of it, osilo midula afilu b'tkufat tammuz. You can make a fire even in the summer months. Okay, so here you see that a regular choleh, this is someone who bloodlet and now is not feeling well because they bloodlet. We're going to talk about all that. Bloodletting, on the one hand, was done for the reasons. On the other hand, it sometimes caused issues to people, health issues. Shmuel Tzalchule Tachtecha Deshagam. We're now going to see all sorts of ways that people desecrated Shabbat. They broke an armchair that was made of teak wood, and they burned it on fire for him after he bloodlet. Rav Yehuda Tzalchule Petora Diyavna. They broke an ebony table made of ebony. LeRabba Tzalchule Sharshifa. They broke a bench for him. Okay, they broke apart all these furniture in order to make a fire for them, to make it better for them to burn a fire on Shabbat. Abai says to Rabba, how could we do this? Isn't this destroying furniture? You can't just destroy objects. So here comes another one of these nuggets in today's daf. I'm much more concerned with destroying my body than I am with destroying furniture. So while there is an issue with destroying furniture, when it comes to yourself, your body, everything kind of goes out the window, and it's much more important for you to take care of yourself than it is to worry about destroying furniture. Amar, even though the term Bal Tashchit doesn't usually refer to humans, but he's using a play on words here and saying, I'm much more concerned with destroying my body. Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, Le'olam yimkor adam korot beito v'yikach minalim l'raglav. This is something that everybody knows. I don't know if you know this, but this was something they knew in their day. They're using it to establish the next line. This line doesn't really relate to us, but If you don't have shoes, better to sell the beams in your house than to walk around barefoot. Okay, they thought walking around barefoot was not a recommended thing. And therefore, okay, either for respect reasons, that to walk around barefoot is just not kavod for your body, or maybe also because if you walk around without shoes, you could get sick. So because of that, maybe that's the concern. So it's not clear why, but this is the fact that better to sell the beams of your house than to walk around without shoes on. So sell the beams, buy shoes. But he keys down ve'en lo ma yochal. But if you bloodlet and you don't have food to eat after you bloodlet, we're now going to see there's going to be a whole discussion how important it is to eat food after bloodlet. If you don't have food, yimkor min alim shebaraglav v'yaspik mehen sarchei seuda. So even though shoes are so important that you should sell your house for it, but you have to sell your shoes in order to get food after bloodletting. That's how important bloodletting, eating after bloodletting is. Ma'at sarchei seuda, what are you supposed to eat after? Rav amar basal, u'Shmuel amar yayin. By the way, we're going to see Rav and Shmuel a lot on this sugya. Often they're actually going to say the same thing or similar things. Here, again, they both think it's very important to eat after, but Rav says meat, Shmuel says wine. Rav amar basar, why nafsha chalif nafsha? Bloodletting is kind of like taking out your soul. So, therefore, we want to replace it with the soul of something else, and that would be meat, because meat came from an animal which has a soul. Shmuel amar yayin, sumka chalif sumka. He says you need to replace the blood in your body, and wine is red, so red is going to replace red. Interesting. Siman shenimsar, this is a siman for all the rabbis we're going to quote in the next section, so we're going to start with the shin of Shmuel. Shmuel b'yom da'avid milta. Now, avid milta means he did a thing, which basically is going to mean bloodlet. Okay, we're going to see avid milta many times. It just means on the day that he bloodlet. Avdele tafshila detachle. He would make a dish of spleen. Rabbi Yochanan shate adinefik tiya meodne. He would drink so much wine, that makes sense. Shmuel, we said meat, and Rav said wine. Oh no, actually there's the opposite. I didn't even realize this. Even though Shmuel said wine, he specifically ate meat, and Rav said meat, and he drank wine. That's interesting. I didn't catch that. Okay, so, it's actually not Rav, sorry, it's Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, so Shmuel for some reason ate meat instead of wine, even though he said wine. Rabbi Yochanan would drink wine until the odor would come out of his ears. Okay, we're going to now talk about in the land of exaggerations. The rabbis drank so much wine that, according to him, he drank it and it was coming out of his ears. The scent, the odor. Rav Nachman shate ad kape tachle. Rav Nachman drank until the spleen that he ate was soaked in his body in wine, inside. Okay, there was so mumuch wine inside that the spleen was soaking in it. Rav Yosef shate ad nefet mirivda de kuslita. He had from the incision where they did the bloodletting, the wine was coming out of there. That's how much wine he drank. Again, this obviously wouldn't happen. It's just an exaggeration. Rav Mahadra Chamar Bartat al Trafe. He would look for the best wine possible. Sometimes say it's wine that's 3 years old. Some people say something else having to do with 3 years. Maybe the leaves were growing on the vine for 3 years, and it was made from grapes of that vine. Amar lu Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Rabbanan. I beg of you, okay, here's Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's advice to his students. I plead with you, on a day that you drink wine, tell your wives, that's your wives, right? They're the home. Nachman ikla legaban. Nachman is coming today. Interesting, he doesn't even call himself Rav, right? He says, tell your wives, the rabbi's coming to my house today, so that what? So they'll make a nice fancy meal, even though I'm actually not going to show up, but just tell them that so that they'll make you a big meal for dinner. Okay? Bekulu iarume asire. In general, it's forbidden to use some sort of trickery, but bar mehai arama, except for this arama. And now they're going to say, okay, so it seems like this is referring to both. Both you can lie to your wife to tell her the rabbi's coming so that she makes you a nice meal. And also, here's a worse one, I would say. What can you do? Manda avid milta below efsharle. If you can't, you don't have food, what can you do? Lish kol zuza maka. Take a zuz. You have a coin that's ruined. Okay, often their coins got ruined and then they couldn't use them. Nobody would. I imagine you have a bill that's torn and you go to the store and they say, I'm not taking that torn bill. So in those days, it was coins that weren't in good shape. So take a coin like that. The leza l'shev chanuta, go to 7 stores. Ad time shiur revi'ita. until, what do? You ask for a tasting. When you go to the ice cream store and you want a taste of this ice cream and that, and it tastes like 10 different flavors, and by that time you're full and you don't really need ice cream anymore. So it's like that. Go and taste, but don't do it all in one store. Go to 7 different stores. And the concept is that each time you taste the wine, you say, oh, that tastes good. Here's my money. And then they're going to look and they're going to say, I'm not taking that coin. And then you say, oh, sorry, I don't have anything else. And then you walk out of the store. And then you do the same thing in another store and you keep going until you've drunk a revi'it of wine from all the tastings that you got. Now this is much more difficult than the other one, because the other one was just lie a little to your wife. I mean, you might say you should never lie to your wife, right? Or your spouse. It's not a good thing, but it's a little white lie saying the rabbi's coming just to kind of get her to make a nice meal. But here you're actually stealing money from people. You're taking wine. So either they say do it in 7 stores, because then at least you're taking a teeny little bit from each place. It's not really very much. Some people say that if it appears in the Midrash, I saw it quoted, that it appears in the Midrash saying that this is midat stom and this is terrible and you shouldn't do this. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak thought it was okay, but other people don't necessarily agree with him. V'ilo, and if you can't do that, well, lechol shev tmare uchmata, take 7 dark dates, black dates, v'leshuk mishcha b'tzidei, and take the oil from there and rub it on your temples, v'nigne b'shimsha, and lie out in the sun, and that will help you. Avleit eshkachei l'Shmuel. Avleit is this non-Jewish person. He finds Shmuel digane b'shimsha. He was lying in the sun. Okay, you think that certainly when I was growing up, people thought it was good to hang out in the sun and lie out in the sun. Now we know it's really not bad, not good for you. It's not healthy. Here we're going to see that they didn't think it was healthy either in those days. Amar le Chakima diudai, you wise Jew, right? You're one of the wise ones of the Jews, Shmuel. Bisha mihave tava. What, is something bad going to turn into something good? You're lying in the sun. That's not a good thing. How could it possibly be good? Amar le yomada kazaha. He says, oh, it's the day that I bloodlet. And then we see it's important to lie out in the sun. And that's because you want to warm your body so you don't catch cold. Vilohi, but actually it wasn't true. Shmuel also lied. Why? There's one day a year, Shmuel believed that it was healthy to lie out in the sun, and that's the day of the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. But he didn't want to tell this guy Avleit, he didn't want to tell him the secret, so that's why he lied and told him it was the day of Hakazah, which theoretically that would have also been a good reason to lie out in the sun. Rav Shmuel D'Amrei Travayu. Here we start with all these things that Rav and Shmuel said the same thing, and maybe they were trying to make a strong point to people. If you don't take seriously this meal after bloodletting, well, then God's not going to give, if you don't eat a lot then, God's not going to give you food in general. Why? They'll say like this in the Shamayim, in the heavens, they'll say, he doesn't care about his own life, so I'm going to. It's another nugget in today's daf. You have to care about yourself. If you don't care about yourself, then other people aren't going to care about you, right? You have to care about your own self if you want God to have Rahmanut on you and also help you. Right? This isn't all in terms of people who say, oh, I'll just let God do it all, right? You have to do your share. You have to show that you care, and then God will help you. Okay, next. Rav Shmuel, again, D'Amrei Travayu, both of them said, Haiman D'Avid Milta, if you bloodlet, lo leitiv heka dekarich zizika, don't sit where there's a big wind. Dilma shafele umana, umokim le'araviata, maybe the bloodletter will accidentally take out too much blood, and you'll only have a revi left of blood in your body. Va'ate zika v'shaif mine, va'ate le'esakan, and the wind is going to come, and your body's going to be too weak, right? We know this sometimes after people get blood, they're weak. Right? So if they take out too much blood, you're going to be super weak. This is, again, you're in a vulnerable position, so be careful what you do when you're vulnerable. Don't go where the wind is because you might not be able to handle it. Shmuel havaragav avid milta bebeita deshev levene va'ariche. He would make sure to bloodlet always in a house where the wall was 7.5 bricks thick, because that would keep out the wind. Yom achada avid va'argish benafshe. One time he bloodlet and he was feeling pretty sick, very weak. He checked and he realized there was 1 brick missing in the wall, and there was only 6.5 bricks thick, and that's why he got sick. Rav Shmuel D'Amrei Travayu, again, they said the same thing. Before you want to go out of the house, first eat something and then go out of the house. Here's a very strange thing. If you don't eat anything, now it seems like you're going to be affected by what you see. If you come across, you walk out of your house, you haven't yet eaten, you see a dead body, what's going to happen? Yarka ape, you're going to turn green in the face, right? Which means you're going to get sick, and you're not going to have the strength the inner strength to deal with seeing a dead body. It's going to make you nauseous and queasy. If you come across a murderer meat, you might die from it. It seems like whatever you meet, you're going to become. You're going to see a dead body, you're going to be a little close to dead. You're going to see a murderer, you're going to come to maybe die. If you see davar acher, kasha the davar acher. You're going to get sick with davar acher. Okay, here it's also this davar acher, but davar acher is translated differently. Often in the Gemara, davar acher is a way of saying a pig. They don't want to say pig, so they say davar acher. It's like you're scared of something, you don't want to say it, or you don't want to mention the word pig, so you say something else. If you come across a pig, it's going to cause you to have davar acher, which was another word for leprosy. They also didn't want to talk about leprosy. So you might become leprous. This is, again, a way of saying when you're vulnerable, things happen to you and you're not in control enough to take control and be able to deal with it. Rav Shmuel Damar Travayu, again, they both say the same thing. You can see that they're very concerned with people not taking this seriously. Haiman da Avid Milta, Lishe, if you bloodlet, Lishe Porta Vahadrelekum. Don't stand up immediately. This is classic. You get blood and you stand up immediately, you get dizzy. So don't stand up immediately. Da Amar Mar, as the following thing was said. There's 5 things that bring death more than life. Eluhain, Achal va'amad, if you stand immediately after eating. Wouldn't have thought that would be on the list. Shata va'amad, if you drink and you stand up immediately after drinking. Maybe this is drinking wine. Yashan va'amad, you slept and then got up. This happens sometimes, right? Right when you wake up, you stand up immediately, you'll get dizzy. Hekiz dam va'amad, getting up right away. And shimesh mitato va'amad, you have relations and then you got up. Again, that would cause you to get dizzy. Amar Shmuel, porsa didama kol taltin yoma. Right? This is classic. How often can you give blood, right? Usually they say wait 3 months in between giving blood. Here with bloodletting, Shmuel said you could do it every 30 days. Ubena prakim yema 8. But as you get older, interestingly, they say upper 40s. That's where I'm at. So if you're in your upper 40s, well, you should do it less frequently than that. Ubena prakim, and even more than that, say around mid-60s, yachzor v'yema 8. You should even do less frequently. Okay, so the older you get, you shouldn't do it as frequently. Bamar Shmuel, again, you're seeing this is something that's good for you. On the other hand, it's potentially dangerous, which again, in the sugya of childbirth, one can see the same thing, right? Childbirth is obviously a very positive thing. On the other hand, there's dangers in it, and one has to be cautious. Which is why they're trying to tell you, don't be, feel free to be mechalel Shabbat because we want you to take care of yourself. That's what's most important, right? As important as Shabbat is, your life is more important than everything else. Now we're going to learn that there's certain days of the week that one should bloodlet, and there's certain days where one should not do it. Okay, so do it on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Why? So first of all, we're going to get rid of Monday and Thursday. Obviously, Shabbat, we're not going to bloodlet. But what about the other days? So Monday and Thursday, now what's always unique about Monday and Thursday? It's the day that we go to the shuk, right? The shuk was open, the marketplace. And as a result, also the courts were open on those days. So Da'amar Mar, Misha Yesh Lo Zchut Avot, if you have Zchut Avot, the merit of your father standing behind you, then Yakiz Dam B'Sheni B'Chamishi. Why? Only people who have Zchut Avot, because Shebeitin Shamala V'Shamata Shavin Ke'echad. What does that mean? When the Beitin Shalmata sits, when we have our courts, also the Beitin Shalmala sits. Okay, up in the heavens, they also open court, which means that the courts are open. Now, again, this goes back to your vulnerability. If you're vulnerable at that moment, when you do Hakazat Dam, and you're going to come up, right, first of all, who gets judged? The people who are weak or looking like they're heading towards somewhere, or just because you're vulnerable at that point and they judge you. If you're judged, again, when you're strong, you see a dead body on the street like we saw before. If you're strong, you won't faint from it. But if you're in a point of weakness, then, and the judgment comes and you get judged for something and you get a punishment, you might not be able to tolerate it and you might die. So therefore, don't bloodlet on those days when there's judgments going up in the heavens. Bitzlata b'shabta my time alo. What's with this? Now, if you thought that was strange, this one's going to be even more difficult to understand. Bishum dekaim ale madim bizave. Okay. They had a belief that there were 7 constellations and each constellation ruled for an hour during the day and the night. And there was a cycle. If you have the Shattenstein or the Koran, they have a list of which constellation ruled when. Now Mars, which is Madim, comes from the word, right? The word Dam is in there. Mars is kind of in charge of blood. Okay, so because of that, you don't want to bloodlet on a time when Mars is in a zuve. What's zuve? Like zuge, in an even number. Okay, when it comes to even numbers, so even numbers are always considered a bad thing. Okay, there's some people who don't donate in even numbers for that reason. Okay, they believe that it's not, even numbers are bad. So you don't want it when Mars is on an even hour during the day. Now they all, because it's every 7 hours, it's always going to be even odd. I'm not going to go into all the numbers, but there's only certain days where during the daytime hours, when you're bloodletting, Mars is ruling in an even hour. Some of those days already are canceled because it's Monday, Thursday, and another one of them is Tuesday. So now they say, right, but Wednesday not, so Wednesday is a good day. And Friday, it also comes out in even numbers. So the Gemara is going to ask, Male Shabtanami Kaime Bezuve. Also on Erev Shabbat, though, it comes out in an even hour. So shouldn't that be a problem? So, Kevan Didashu Be Rabim Shomer P'teim Hashem. That's a day that a lot of people bloodlet, and because of that, we say Shomer P'teim Hashem, God should help the foolish people. In other words, we can't stop it. It's going to go on anyway, so let's just let it go, okay, and hope for the best. But on days when we can help it, when we can avoid it, so avoid it. Don't do it on Tuesday. Now, why were people all bloodletting on Friday? So it seems, first of all, you might think because people were working all week long, and it seems like they were working on Fridays also. It's not like Friday was a day off. But it seems one of the reasons I saw it was because people wanted to have a big meal after, as we just discussed how important that is. And therefore, if you want a big meal, well, they didn't eat big meals on normal days, so they did it. They connected it with Shabbat. They do it on Friday. They'd have their big meal on Shabbat. Although we're going to see soon, they couldn't do that on Erev Chag, okay, for other reasons. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says another thing, and this also sounds a little more superstitious. Dalid, so we said Wednesday's okay, but now he's going to limit and say not every Wednesday. A Wednesday, Duhu Dalid, that comes out on the 4th day of the month, or Dalid Shuar Ba'asar, or if it comes out on the 14th, or Dalid Shu Esrim Va'arba'a, anything that has to do with a 4, a Yom Revi'i, the 4th day of the week that comes out on the 24th of the month, or, here's an interesting one, Dalid Deleka Arba Batre, this sounds like Thanksgiving, right? It comes out on the last Thursday of the month if there's, X amount of days before the end of the month. So if a Wednesday, that doesn't have 4 more days left till the end of the month, all those days, sakante, it's dangerous for you to bloodlet on them. Okay, I don't know why, but he says it's dangerous. Rosh Chodesh, v'shenilo, the Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month, and the second day of the month, not the second day of Rosh Chodesh, the second day of the month, chulsha, will cause you weakness if you bloodlet on those days. Shlishi lo sakana, on the third day of the month, this has nothing to do with Wednesday, this is just regular, on any third day of any month, is dangerous. Mala Yom Tova, on Erev Yom Tov, chulsha will cause you weakness. And Mala Yom Ha'atzarta on Erev Shavuot, sakanta, it's dangerous. So now they're going to say, V'gazru Rabbanan Kulim Mala Yom Tova. They said, don't do it on any of the Erev Chags, Mishum Yom Tova Datzeret. Because of Shavuot, we don't want you to do it on any other Erev Chag so that you don't come to do it on Shavuot. Now, the one thing they will explain here is, why is it so dangerous on Erev Shavuot? Denafik Beizika, there's a wind that comes specifically on Erev Shavuot, Ushmei Tavoach. Tavoach is from what the butcher does. He slaughters the animals. It's called litboach, to slaughter. So comes from that word. If they hadn't accepted the Torah, that evil spirit was going to slaughter everybody. Okay, so therefore, on Erev Shavuot, that angel is out. That bad wind, it's like an evil spirit is around, kind of ready to get anyone who doesn't accept the Torah. It sounds a lot like kafar lehem har kikiki, right? That the Torah was forced upon them, that there was this spirit out there that was ready to slaughter everybody. And because of that, don't do it on Erev Shavuot, because again, you're putting yourself in this vulnerable position. Amar Shmuel, achal chita v'kiz dam lo hikiz elelo tachita. Don't eat right before doing it. This is like with medicine, right? Either eat right before, don't eat before, empty stomach, full stomach. So if you eat wheat and then you do bloodletting, it was kind of only centered on that food. The food kind of got in the way of it being successful. But this is only if you're bloodletting for health reasons, because you're sick. But you can do it if it's just if you're doing it just to lighten up on your body, kind of take some of the blood out, that's okay. But if you're doing it because you're sick, don't eat right before. Hamikiz dam, shiala alter, achila achatsimio. Now all of a sudden we talk about, well, you should drink immediately, but you shouldn't eat until the time it would take you to walk a half a meal, okay, a certain amount of time. Wait a certain amount of time before you eat. So, Ibailahu, now they want to know. It says, shtia immediately, and food after a certain amount of time. So, shtia la'al termale, avatar hachikashe, does that mean you have to drink right then. But if you drink later, it's bad. Or odilma lo kashe v'lo ma'ali. Or does it just mean it's good you should drink immediately after for health reasons? If you want to drink after, you can drink after, but it doesn't do anything. It's not going to be bad for you. It's just not going to necessarily help you. Teku, we don't know the answer. And likewise for the next question. The whole thing we talked about eating is only if you wait that amount of time. Does that mean if less time elapsed or more time elapsed, it's bad for you? Or is it just lo ma'aleh v'lo marid, right? Not better, not worse. Teku. Again, we don't know the answer. Machiz Rav. Rav made the following announcement. This is very strange. Bunch of different interpretations of what this means. Does it have to do with hairdressers, or does it have to do with gourds? Okay, big difference. Mea kare bezuza. I'll explain it that it has to do with gourds. If 100 gourds go for a zuz, mea reshe, the heads of animals, 100 can go for a zuz. That means they're worth nothing. Mea shvame velo klum. 100 mustaches aren't worth anything. Okay, if you the above the lip part of the animal is not worth anything. Rav Yosef Kiavina be'Rav Huna Yomi de Mefarger be'Rabbanan Amrei Ha'idne Yomi de Shafmehu. There was a day where the rabbis weren't learning well, and they said, "Oh, this is a day of mustaches." Below Yadana Maika Amrei, and I didn't understand what he was talking about, and now I realize he's talking about that all these things are basically worth nothing, and that's what he meant. Okay, this is a strange section why it's here. I'm going to leave that aside for right now. Okay. This was all, again, as I said, I think the connection, the obvious connection is that they were talking about chole on Shabbat, what one could do, and then from there they moved to one who bloodlet, and there's all sorts of things one has to do, and certain things that one could be mechalel Shabbat for. Again, I think they're talking about people when they're in vulnerable situations, and maybe because they were talking about women and they wanted the men to relate to some part of this because they weren't in childbirth, maybe they wanted to bring like a similar thing where you're someone in danger, and obviously not to connect the two at all. Obviously, childbirth was much more dangerous than bloodletting, but they want to kind of bring different issues of things that were the similarity between them is one is in a vulnerable position and therefore susceptible to all sorts of infections, whether you want to call it infections or, what they like to call, what we may call bacteria and things like that, they call evil spirits and all sorts of other things to kind of say, watch out, you're susceptible at this point to all sorts of diseases. And therefore, kind of sending the message home that it's very important to be mechalel Shabbat if you need, and to take care of yourself, not relating to Shabbat, but take care of your body, take care of yourself, and do what needs to be done, and listen to the rabbis, because we know about this kind of stuff also. And that's why I think it's so interesting that Rav and Shmuel have this united front, right, where they're arguing all the time. Sometimes it says Rav and Shmuel agreed, but specifically here, they're very much in agreement, and they want to make this united front listen to us, okay? So, finishing up now to the end of the perek, v'koshrin hatabur. Okay, so you can tie the umbilical cord. Tanu Rabbanan, koshrin hatabur. Rabbi Yossi omer af chotchin. You can even cut it, not just tie it. And tomnim hashilia, and you can bury. Okay, now what's the issue here? It's an interesting issue. The placenta they would bury in the ground. This actually doesn't mean to bury. I translate it wrong. You can hide it, like put it under something to protect it. The placenta they would bury in the ground as a skula. Now we're going to learn that even for a skula, okay, what's a skula, right? That they believe that if they buried the placenta in the ground, it would help the child, okay, the newborn baby. So on Shabbat, you can't bury it, but what can you do? You can cover it with something to protect it from getting ruined so that you can bury it after Shabbat. So they even allow that, kadesh yecham vlad. They felt that was going to warm the vlad if they buried the placenta. So one can even do something like that on Shabbat. They would cover it with mugs full of oil. Benot Ashirite, those are the daughters of kings. Benot Ashirim, if they're wealthy, besfogim shel tzemer, with wool, with combed wool. Benot Aniyim bemuchim, they would take rags because that's all they had, right? The poor girls. Rav Nachman, Rav Ravua, Rav Halakha ki Rabbi Yossi. We pass like Rabbi Yossi. Again, we allow more. Okay, makes sense. Rav Nachman, Rav Ravua, Rav Modim Chachamim Rabbi Yossi. The rabbis agree with Rabbi Yossi when it comes, right? They just said koshrim but not chotchim, but they agree that when it's twins, b'tabur shel shtei tinokot shechotchim. In that case, you can cut it. My timer deminat chayahadade, because they're attached to each other and it's not safe for them. Rav Nachman, Rav Ravua, Rav. Here's an interesting thing we're going to end with. Kol ha'amor b'parashat tochacha osim l'chaya b'Shabbat. in the parsha, the Tochacha, that's where it says all the bad things that are going to befall the Jewish people in the future when the destruction comes. And there's a whole description about what's going to happen on the day that women give birth. All those things that they describe, they're not going to be able to do. Those are all things that we're allowed to do on Shabbat. So here goes. And right on the day that they give birth to you, lo karat sharech, you're not going to cut your, I don't know even how to translate it according to the Pshat. We'll see what this means in a minute. Ubemayim lo rachatz, and you weren't washed in water. Lemishe, v'hamlach lo humlach, and you weren't salted. V'atchel lo chatalt, and you weren't swaddled. Okay, all the things that generally happen to a child. So this is what's done. So, moladetech b'yom moledet, mikan shemiyaldim et havla b'shabbat. From here we learn that you can help birth a baby. Lo karat sharech. So here we get what it means. Mikan shechotchina tabor. You can cut the umbilical cord. Okay, that's the way they translate that word. I'm not sure if that's the pshat of the word, but it might be. But here it says exactly what it means. Shechotchina tabor b'Shabbat. That you're allowed to do it on Shabbat. Ubemayim lo rachatz lemishe. Mikan sherochatzim avla b'Shabbat. From here you learn you can wash off the baby on Shabbat. V'hamlech lo humlach. Mikan shemochim avla b'Shabbat. You can salt a child on Shabbat. What exactly is salting a child? So it seems Rashi says it's bisaro mitkasher, would help its skin to harden a little bit. I don't know. It was obviously something they did in those days. Others say it's to prevent the baby from having any sort of pain. It's some sort of pain preventive. It's interesting because we talk about putting the salt on the wound of the animal who gave birth yesterday, right? That was bad for. Here somehow it's good for the child. And then once you say it's to prevent pain, then anything to prevent or discomfort, I would say, not pain, but to prevent discomfort. If you say that that's what it is, then it's anything to prevent discomfort would be allowed. From here, you can swaddle an infant on Shabbat. So all these things are allowed, and they're learned from the Tochacha. It's interesting. Again, it's this issue of connecting. If we talked before about Avelut and childbirth and the numbers being, right, the days being the same, here we have, the Tochacha, what the bad is going to happen with the good and what we're allowed to do. And from there, you learn, it's interesting. It reminds me of Yechezkel. He's told, you're going to lose your wife and you won't be able to mourn. And from there we learn all sorts of things. Oh, well then that means that's what we're supposed to do when we mourn. So it's like that. And with that, Hadran Alach Mifanim, and we'll start the 19th parak tomorrow, all about Brit Milah and what can be Doches Shabbat relating to a circumcision. Have a good day. Sorry. Here we go. Okay.
Have a good day.
Okay, have a good day,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You can see the number. Oh. If you click on it, you can see their name.
Bye, everybody.
Can you watch it?